This week on Cosmic Sponge, Old Man Ockenbeck's boy weighs in on UFO Mania. Next, there was a new sighting of the Tic Tac UFO which took place in Clovis, the Where's Waldo of towns. Steve discovers a time traveler with no sense of time, warning us of intergalactic war. An unpronounceable African town gains a crash saucer, and then we dive into our main topic as we discuss the Tasmanian tiger and other tasty extinct species which may still exist in the remote corners of our world. Stick around, it's going to be a hoot. Unless it's a hoot from an owl that's already been eaten to extinction. Hit it.
Welcome to Cosmic Sponge, the podcast where we talk about UFOs and other weird wonders of the world. I'm Stephen Hawk.
And I'm Jimmy Coe.
Tonight we have, I don't know, it's kind of a wonder of the world. It's sort of a cryptid, but not really. What we're going to be talking about tonight is a creature that did exist, that we know existed, and was alive and well until people killed it out for the most part. And then we're going to be talking about the thylacine. So you may be saying, hey, why are we talking about the thylacine?
Whoa,
the thylacine, what?
What's a thylacine?
You know what a thylacine is, man. It's otherwise known as the Tasmanian tiger. Some people even called it the Tasmanian wolf. And it is an extinct marsupial that was last known to survive in, the last one died in captivity in a zoo, I believe in Australia, but the last one was killed in the wild in 1933. And they're believed to be extinct now. No one has seen one. But I will say that they've kind of entered into the world of cryptids because people keep seeing them. And in fact, I think I've got a sheet here that says there's been something like 7,000 reported sightings, not only in Tasmania, but also on mainland Australia, which the creature did live in Australia. But we'll get to that. We'll get to that in a little bit. Because first, Jimmy, what's been going on, man?
Lots of stuff, man. I've got a lot of news. First thing is my favorite thing, skepticism. There's this guy, Joel Ockenbeck, at the Washington Post. He penned a great...
Is that old man Ockenbeck's boy?
Yes, that's old man's Ockenbeck's boy. You know?
Yeah.
He's a writer, and he wrote an article for the Washington Post penned, "It's Time to Stop UFO Mania." It's a really interesting article with twists and turns in it.
Well, let's hear it. I'm on the edge of my seat.
This is the part I liked. He writes, "The Republic of Science is engaged in the study of observable natural phenomena. I have lifted both phrases from Richard Rhodes' monumental book, The Making of the Atomic Bomb."
I've read that book.
Oh, have you?
It's very good. Yeah, it's a Pulitzer Prize winner. As a matter of fact, it's an excellent book. In fact, I like that book so much, just a little aside here, and what a nerd I am. I like that book so much that I lent it to someone who never gave it back. I bought another copy.
Wow. That's love.
It's an excellent book.
Yeah, Steve held up his hand as if the book was like, 120 pounds.
It's very, very in-depth. Richard Rhodes is an excellent author, and it talks about the beginnings of just even learning about atoms, learning about radioactivity around the turn of the century, and just goes all the way through it. Excellent book.
Okay, the important question here is, does it have pictures?
A few.
Well, if it's that thick and only has a few pictures, count me out. All right. So anyway.
I'm sorry, man. I shouldn't have broke in with all that. I was surprised to hear that.
Well, he goes on to say, this is why science and science journalism are not well equipped to fact check religious beliefs. Religions typically involve events that are neither natural nor necessarily observable on demand. And this is also where science runs into trouble with UFO reports. The videos and photos are ambiguous, to say the least. Eyewitness reports, even from credible witnesses, are not the same as having a piece of an alien spaceship to scrutinize, or better yet, alien DNA. It's a really good article, a good read, and it's not really critical one way or the other. I think the sum of it, though, is his point is that scale back the UFO a little bit stuff and focus on things that are more important from his perspective, like the pandemic and climate change. And I don't know. For me, it's like UFOs is an escape from that. That's where I go to get away from all of that stuff that's bumming me out.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen a few articles along that same theme of why is everyone getting excited over a few videos, over 2 or 3 Navy videos? That's all anyone wants to talk about. And I don't equate interest in UFOs with religion. I think there are certain aspects of it that can go there. A lot of the conspiracy theory stuff, a lot of the...
What about Heaven's Gate people? That's almost like a religious cult-like thing.
Well, that was a religious cult.
It just happened to be
a UFO cult. I mean, most definitely there is that element that it can go there. But I think you can also be interested in it as just a phenomenon, unusual mystery, which is my interest in it. It always has been. Same with cryptids. And I mean, I don't know. If I wasn't interested in this, what else would I be interested in? There's plenty of people a lot smarter than I am studying the pandemic and all those things. So...
I tell you what, it'd become a religion for me really quickly if the alien overlords show up and start harvesting people. I'd be like, okay, I will worship you. Take my neighbor. Sorry, sorry, Carla. But, priorities.
Right. Yeah, that's... Yeah, I mean, I kind of get that too. All right, I got one for you. I was going to ask you real quick, have you seen the new Netflix series? This show runs about a week and a half behind of when we record it and when it goes out. But there's a new show on Netflix, something UFO Declassified, and I'm still thinking they stole my title. History of UFOs Declassified. I don't know.
I know, it's really original and not likely to be one people would steal.
I'm sure I stole it from someone. Mine really was declassified because it was based on declassified documentation.
Hey, you know what? I watched some of the first couple of episodes of that, and I was like, hey, that's all the stuff we talked about.
Right. And at first I was very skeptical because they started right off with, Roswell and a few things like that. And I thought they were going to go down that whole government conspiracy trail, but they didn't. The video they keep showing is gray aliens and, renderings of flying saucers and spaceships. And then occasionally they'll bring out, all the regulars like Richard Dolan or, just the guys you always see on these UFO shows being interviewed and giving you their opinion about it. But it actually, at first I was very skeptical just because of the graphics. I kept seeing UFOs and little alien faces and everything as they're talking about it. And then, and it's interspersed with a lot of vintage footage of old Air Force aircraft and people in radar rooms from the 1950s and 60s and things. But it most certainly covered the history of UFOs. At least episode 1 did. I haven't watched any more of it. But yeah, not too bad. Listeners, check it out. It's not a bad show.
So when you were watching it, did you get a sense that some of the computer graphics in that show were done by B art students?
I think it was more of a stylistic thing. What else you got?
Well, since we're talking about, those kinds of things, there's a Showtime UFO documentary series. Did you see that?
Well, why don't you tell me about it? Because I was not even aware that it existed.
Well, you know what? I saw it just before I got on tonight, and they have a free episode of it up on YouTube, which I posted to our Facebook channel. So
nice.
You can watch the first episode. I think it's
What's it called? The History of UFOs Declassified?
Unclassified. Reclassified. UFO reclassified. Unidentified farting objects. That's how they reclassify them.
Yeah.
I'm from the planet Butthole. Okay. So anyway, you guys have a lot of stuff out there you can watch instead of listening to us.
But listen to us.
Listen to us. And then go get the real information.
What are you talking about, man? I'm pretty proud of the info that we do and the research we do on this show.
We do great research. And we talk about Tasmanian devils.
Where else do you think the listeners would learn about a UFO, a 3-foot wide UFO in a Russian coal mine made of stone?
Or knobby-headed Russian aliens.
Exactly.
Right.
The banana-shaped spaceships.
That's right. You're not going to find it anywhere else. Anyway,
that's right.
Did you see that also a Tic Tac UFO was filmed by Vince Mandara? And you may be asking yourself, who is Vince Mandara? And I was thinking, he's this guy that hangs out in Clovis. Like the Clovis people, I guess. I don't know where that's in Fresno, California is where the Fox channel that reported this. So I guess Clovis is somewhere in California.
Yeah. I thought it was Arizona.
I don't know. I'm not good at geography.
I could be wrong. I mean, I know the Clovis people were named because it was near somewhere named Clovis. And that's why they call them the Clovis people, the very first archaeological artifacts they found.
For all I know, it's from Papua New Guinea. I don't know. Clovis.
No.
But you know what? It does look like the Tic Tac UFOs. This thing, it's not bad footage.
It was shot in California?
Well, it's coming out of a television station out of Fresno, California. So I just assumed Clovis was California, but it doesn't say Clovis where. It's Clovis, Tasmania is where it's from.
No, it's not.
Clovis, Papua New Guinea. Actually, it's one of the big cities in China. Clovis, China. I don't know where it is.
Man, I'm going to have to look it up.
I'm trying to find it in this feed, but they don't tell you. They just assume you know where Clovis is. Okay, listeners, I want you to write into me and tell me if you know where Clovis is. Clovis where? I bet you there's a Clovis in every state except for West Virginia. The guy who shot it, that's one guy. And then the other guy is Jayef Agaris. I hope I'm saying his name right, though I'm absolutely sure I'm slaughtering it because I am inept when it comes to language. But he's the high school coach that put some filters on it. He actually has an Instagram that he follows Tic Tac footage from around the world. I posted that as well. And finally, do you have anything else?
I do.
Oh, well, I'll let you go with one more before I hit you with the big one.
I don't know, man. This one's pretty big.
Oh,
this
crap.
This one is probably the biggest one we've ever had. This one come to me from Darla Ellison, and I forgot to give her a shout out on our last episode. She has been doing some additional research for me in particular.
No, not in particular. Exclusively. She's not offering her services to me. I have to do all my own work.
Okay. Well, anyway, thanks, Darla. Appreciate that. And she also sent me this. Have you heard about the meteor shower that's going on right now? So as we're taping this, or taping.
Yes, we're taping it. Yes. Get out your tapes. We're taping it. Turn on the reel-to-reels, Matt.
Hurry up, flip the tape over. All right, as we are recording this, right now it is August 12th, and the meteor shower started, and I don't remember which one it is. I probably couldn't pronounce it anyway.
They're washing meteors because they're dirty.
So there's a meteor shower that'll be appearing in the next couple of weeks.
Right.
But we have a warning from the future. So a real-life time traveler from the year 2714 is warning us that aliens will soon be arriving to begin an intergalactic war.
Oh. You know what? Our bank lady today was telling me about this.
Oh, really?
Yeah. She's like, man, you got to do that for your show.
Oh, well, I hope I didn't take yours then. So the time traveler claims the invasion will begin on August 11th. So for us right now, that's yesterday. And as you're listening to this, there may already be an intergalactic war going on. We don't know right now. The meteor shower will begin on August 11th, 2021, and will continue for 2 weeks. This isn't the first time. What?
Is that daylight savings time?
Sure.
Okay.
He said that one of the meteors is going to actually be a spaceship. So it'll look a little differently, so be sure and keep your eyes peeled for that. The invasion will come in a meteor shower, as one of the meteors will look different than the others. This will be a spaceship landing on Earth, starting preparations for the Nozick War, Nozic War.
Mm-hmm.
So that's all we know. The time traveler didn't really share a whole lot more. Other than a couple of weeks ago, the same TikTok user who is the time traveler said that in 2021, humans will get superpowers. It's a good thing, since apparently we're going to have this alien invasion on our hands.
Each of these predictions was given to us an hour and a half before his medicine time.
I swear, every time I see something like that, I'm always like, everyone laughs it off. And I'm always like, what if it was, I remember years ago, I saw.
What if it's true and he's just bad at telling time?
Yeah, I mean, it's always funny. I remember seeing years ago this ad that had actually appeared in classified ads somewhere, and somebody had reproduced it and sent it to me, but it was a thing that said, need someone to travel back in the past with me. I've only done this once before. Bring your own weapons.
That's awesome.
And it had contact information. So, and I always thought about that. I was like, and in fact, I wrote a story once, not published, but anyway, I wrote a story once with something like that very thing kind of happening. So I just thought that was a neat idea. But anyway, you wonder, right? I've only done this once.
Yeah, shows up with swimming goggles, a BB gun, and a little rubber ducky. I'm ready to go.
Yeah. Bring your own weapons.
Well, I think mine's better than yours.
All right, what you got, man?
I got a crashed saucer.
No.
Yes way. Crashed saucer in Takawa, Peru. It's in Africa.
You said Peru. You said it was Peru. That's in South America.
No. In Africa. It's in Africa. Takawa, Peru.
Did you not say Peru?
No, Peru.
Oh.
It's TANKWAKAROO. Peru. Tankwa, Peru.
You maybe should have practiced that a little bit before we got on there.
I really should have. I really, really should have. But I didn't. All right? So, deal. So, let's see. It looks like a UFO. A big UFO sticking out of the ground at like a 68-degree angle.
When was this supposed to have happened?
Well, I got all excited, but then I read the thing. The farming industry has been hit hard by the lack of rain in the region. Some farmers have turned their homes into bed and breakfasts in order to generate income. They've experienced a severe drought since 2014, so they got together. This one dude's wife had this idea. He said, I was thinking about Area 51 where the UFO crashed, and we asked engineer Eddie Kirchhoff, who works in Ceres, CERES, awesome. So he works in Ceres, and to build a UFO. So he built this big UFO in the middle of Africa. That's 10 meters wide and 7 meters high. It looks pretty cool. Weighs about 1.6 tons.
Yeah.
And it looks like a crash saucer.
It's just like a tourist attraction,
Yeah,
I guess.
it was real disappointing. They also have a car sticking out of the ground at about a 68-degree angle. They seem to like that angle. But I was really hoping it was going to be a real saucer, not one made out of stone. But alas, What are you going to do? And that's all I have for the news. But it's a cool-looking saucer. Check it out.
All right, well, I'll tell you what, man. Let's move on to tonight's subject. What do you think?
I'm excited to talk about the Tasmanian devil. I've been watching that dude on the cartoons every morning. What?
The Tasmanian devil is a creature that still lives. They still have Tasmanian devils. We're talking about the Tasmanian Tiger.
I was a little sad because I liked him on the Saturday morning cartoons.
Although they are pretty well endangered right now, they have this weird facial cancer that they have been passing back and forth. Yeah, it's a very strange form of cancer, and they bite each other a lot whenever they are feeding and stuff like that.
Heavy smokers?
No, but they're like these tumors, and it's really unusual that cancer can transfer from one organism to the next, but this one does. They're in pretty bad shape right now. So no, we're going to be talking about the thylacine, which was commonly known as the Tasmanian tiger. Whenever Europeans... Now, this creature existed in Australia, New Guinea, and also in Tasmania. But whenever fossil records have been found, cave paintings, things like that, on the Australian mainland, but it only existed in Tasmania by the time European settlers arrived. They called it the Tasmanian tiger because it had on its hindquarters a series of stripes that reminded you of a tiger. Now, physically, it resembled more of a canine type creature, but was actually derived from neither one. The Tasmanian tiger, or thylacine, was actually a marsupial, which is the most common type of animal in Australia and on Tasmania, because the continent separated from Asia about 35 million years ago and became, or maybe longer, and became isolated, and so all of the animals there took a divergent type. I'm getting all professory again, man.
You are. It's I'm looking at this critter, and it looks like another animal that God was smoking pot when he made the platypus. Well, apparently he went on to go ahead and make this one too.
No, I mean, I think it's one thing I find very interesting, and listeners, I urge you to jump on jump on the internet and take a look at it. I mean, it does look so much like a canine, but this is a clear case of what's known as convergent evolution. It evolved binocular vision, the long snout, the way it's built is almost exactly like, a fox or a wolf.
It's got a possum
which
tail.
Is, our apex predators in North America. And even though they're totally unrelated animals, just pretty interesting that it carved out its own niche. The last one died in a zoo in captivity in 1936, and there's a few films around that you can, see it. I think it's about a 6-minute long film. Of course, there's plenty of black and white pictures that you can see it. There's several stuffed examples of it around. The animal was pretty much killed out. They had bounties on it in the 1800s and early 1900s because people thought it was killing their livestock, sheep and chickens and such. So they put a bounty out. A lot of them were just slaughtered and turned in, and so it led to their extinction. Although there may have been some other factors that led to it as well, such as infringement of Western animals like dogs and things like that could have also disrupted their habitat, the way they fed or whatever animals they preyed on, things like that. And that could have been what led to their die-off in Australia, because the dingo, which is derived from a dog, it actually is a canine. They believe arrived in Australia maybe 8,000 or 9,000 years ago. Nobody knows why. It was most likely a domesticated dog that a tribe brought and that migrated to Australia at some point. Nobody really knows. The oldest fossil of the dingo is about 3,500 years old. So the thylacine was a marsupial. It was shy and nocturnal. It was about the size of a medium to large-sized dog. It had a stiff tail, and what was really interesting about it is it had a pouch, like all marsupials. But both the male and the female had pouches. Did you know that?
Did they both carry the babies, or just the female?
No, the male thylacine, the pouch on the male, served as a protective sheath covering the external reproductive organs.
Are you kidding me?
No, I was thinking that sounds pretty handy.
Why didn't I get one of those?
Yeah, why didn't we evolve that? That's what I'm saying.
I was in the wrong line. I want to be in the line with the pouch for this part of the process.
Yeah. So, and another weird thing, like kangaroos carry their pouch with the head of the joeys, sticking up, right? Like out of the pouch.
Yeah.
But the young of the thylacine, face the hindquarters, face the other way. So as they were moving around.
So they're blind?
No.
They can't see anything.
The pouch, the opening of the pouch was toward the hindquarters, not toward the front of the animal, like on a kangaroo.
So you're looking at your mama's butt all the time?
I guess. Yeah. It'd kind of motivate you to get out of the pouch, I think, pretty quick.
Well, I would think.
Yeah. Did you, what the only there's quite a few marsupials in South America, but do you know what the only North American marsupial is?
Possum.
The possum.
I knew that. Right. Because I looked at the possum tail and I looked at the thylacine's tail, and I'm like, that's like a possum.
Mm-hmm. Very similar. So as we said, the thylacine, last one died in 1936 in captivity. It appeared in a lot of rock art.
Yeah, like 2,000 years ago in Australia in rock art. And it's also like 2 million years old. Is that right?
Yeah, they believe it evolved around 2 million years ago. There's a lot of fossil evidence.
I found this interesting. This is going to come in later for our sightings, but they believe they mostly roamed the eucalyptus forest, grasslands, the marshlands, wetlands, right? So they weren't like tree climbers or anything, right?
Right, yeah. But, and then there's a lot of, nobody really had a chance to study this creature. Some believe they operated in packs and ran down their prey as, the same way maybe lions do, where they do persistent hunting, that type of thing. But then other researchers believe they were ambush hunters, where they just would hide and wait and jump out of a bush or something like that. But again, we don't quite know. Wasn't enough time to really study him. I was trying to find the place where the guy killed the last one in the wild.
Oh, yeah, some farmer or something shot it because he thought it was eating his chickens.
Mm-hmm.
Got a big smile on his face. Hey, look, I'm the jackass that killed the last wild Tasmanian tiger.
Yeah, it's like, hey, look at me. I'm the last one that killed the very last one of these wild species. Here it is. And then, have you seen the picture of the one that is carrying the chicken? Like, if you scroll around pictures of thylacines, there's like some chickens around, and there's one with the chicken in its mouth.
I haven't, but,
Experts agree that is almost certainly a stuffed specimen And that's a staged photograph because of the way it appears so stiff. They say, to try and get people excited about the bounty.
Man, that's just wrong. It just got bad press is what happened. I bet you it was the Tasmanian devil that was paying off the newspapers to put that in there. It's like, we'll get rid of some of my competition, see? We'll blame it on the tiger. Meanwhile, we can eat all the chickens we want. Yeah, I'm looking at this, and they say that the tail was more like a kangaroo, but it looks more like a possum to me.
Mm-hmm. It's very stiff. Yep. Oh, yeah, here we go. The last known thylacine to be killed in the wild was shot in 1930 by Wilf Batty.
Perfect name.
From Malwana in the state's northwest. The animal believed to have been a male had been around Batty's house for several weeks. That is the last one, and he's posing with it there with him and his dog. Killed the last one known in the wild. But anyway, as we said, the reason we're bringing this up tonight, and, I don't want to go down the, us human beings have killed off tons of animals, but we have. It's amazing. I went, did sort of a little personal study about 8 or 9 years ago to see how many creatures have gone extinct just in the last 100 years. It's eye-opening.
It's their fault for being tasty. I'm just saying.
Actually, if they were tasty, we would domesticate them like cows and they would live forever. It's their fault for being non-adaptable, I guess. Animals that adapt well, like white-tailed deer, raccoons, they'll never go away because they adapt to living among humans.
I didn't say they were as tasty as cows. I just said they were tasty.
What about the western black rhinoceros? Northern, west northern, the black rhinoceros. It's extinct. Went extinct in 2006, 2000. I think it was declared extinct in 2011, being shot for its horn.
That's its fault for being so prominent in Chinese medicine to make it virulent for, men to get stiff and hard.
Yeah.
Like the tail of a thylacine.
So anyway, but why we're bringing this up on the show tonight is because it really has entered the world. The thylacine has entered the world of the cryptid because people have sightings of this creature all the time. Me personally, I hope that it still does live in the wild. I hope it is still out there and that we haven't eradicated this species as we have so many. But Jimmy, do you have any particular sightings you found?
Before we talk about the sighting, I want to ask you, did you see that found footage? They discovered some new footage of the Tasmanian tiger, little black and white footage, and it shows it opening its mouth, and it's like,
oh, I've seen that.
It's like
huge. That's been around forever. Yeah, it could open its jaws 80 degrees.
That's crazy.
It was very strange.
Crazy, man.
Yeah. That footage has been around a long time. I think that was shot in Hobart Zoo in 1933, if I'm not mistaken, of the last two living species.
Newly discovered footage of last known Tasmanian tiger. This was last year, May 19th, 2020.
But there's been some footage of them for a long time available. I don't know, unless they've just found a little bit more of it or something.
That may have been the case.
Or maybe something I haven't seen. But anyway, yeah, we'll get to that. We'll check it out. I'll check it out later.
Yeah, but there have been sightings over the years since it presumably went extinct, all the way up to like the 90s, late 90s. There were, every year you get some sightings and stuff, but they never panned out. It's sort of like Bigfoot. You're getting fuzzy pictures, or just people would say, I thought I saw it. And, it could have been any number of things,
Well, I do know that there has been over 7,000 reports of seeing the thylacine ever since it was declared extinct.
Well, there's probably twice that many in a week of Bigfoot.
Yeah.
I guess the difference is we actually know the thylacine existed. We have really good footage of it in captivity.
All right. Here's the sighting. I'm going to go ahead and cover this one. And this one's relatively recent. There's an individual named Neil Waters, and he started the thylacine awareness group in South Australia. We forgot to do a bunch of Australian jokes. You know what I mean, mate?
Don't say it. Don't say it. Don't say it.
Thylacine got my baby.
Thylacine got my dingo. They got my baby.
Okay, I guess enough of the Australian jokes. Anyway, we love you guys in Australia. We noticed a nice uptick from the Westall episode, so thank you. I hope you find this story interesting as well. So anyway, Neil Waters started the Thylacine Awareness Group of South Australia in 2014. He believes there are currently at least 1,000 Tasmanian tigers on the mainland Australia. He gave an interview on the radio, and I'm basing this on a story. I may as well go ahead and give credit where credit is due. This is medium.com. Waters recently gave an update on his work. he has been placing over 60 trail cameras out in the South Australian bush to try and capture the Tasmanian tigers on film. He thinks there are more sightings of them in that particular area because there's less bush to hide in and more open farmland. He went on to say that the latest reported sighting from South Australia was January 21st, 2021. 3 years earlier, a woman told her husband that she had seen one and he had just laughed about it. But now her husband had to admit she was right. On his way to work, he spotted a female Tasmanian tiger with 2 cubs, or joeys as they're often called, playing by her side. It was in the very same spot where his wife had seen one 3 years earlier. In the 1980s, there was a busload of tourists in Western Australia. They all saw the animal at close range in broad daylight whilst on a wildflower tour.
Okay.
Is that like the name of a band?
Isn't that Tom Petty's album, Wildflowers?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, so let me get this straight. People who are really good at identifying wildflowers were trying to identify a thylacine.
I don't know, but it's people that's into nature. So,
you know, Carl's over there with some spray, some black spray paint, and he's spraying the dingoes in the hindquarters to look like tigers.
But you know, I think it would be, if you did see a creature about that size in the wild, the stripes would give it away. I mean, I think that's what people are focusing in on. I mean, if you saw, even at a little bit of a distance, a canine-shaped creature, maybe it is a dingo, or maybe it's a domestic dog.
It's a dingo wearing a thylacine coat.
But you know what I mean? I mean,
Right.
I think it would be something that would be easy to identify if you did happen to see this in the wild.
Well, you know what? In 2017, 580 camera traps were deployed in North Queensland by the James Cook University. You know how many clear pictures of thylacines they got?
0.
That's right.
I would have heard about it by now if they had.
I'm just saying, I'm skeptical.
Of course you are.
Of course I am. Well, you know.
Sadly, I think the only real hope we may have is that at some point, hopefully, there's probably some preserved DNA. And at some point, hopefully, maybe we can, the technology will get there. I don't know if we're there now, but hopefully, maybe we'll be able to clone this creature someday, bring it back.
I was actually reading an article where a researcher was saying that's what we should be focused on, not focus on trying to find a creature that's obviously extinct.
It would be very difficult and very expensive to try and bring any species back from one clone. You start with one clone, then you get another clone. And then, for one thing, it has to be birthed by another creature. And didn't they do that with one of these? Was it this one? Or no. I'm thinking of the ibex sheep. Have you seen that? It's a goat, a wild goat that lived in the Pyrenees Mountains in Europe. And the last one died in like the 2000s. I don't know, just encroachment on its environment, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
And I do know they tried to clone one, and it was female, but it only lived for a few minutes after birth. So I don't think the technology's there yet to bring back some of these lost species. Maybe they will be at some point, but we don't have a very good track record, our ancestors, of taking care of natural animals. So
yeah, what's that line from a Jurassic Park? He
said you were too busy wondering if you could do it and never took time to wonder if you should do it.
Yeah.
Well, it's a little different though. Okay.
Well, it's a lot different because these things won't eat you.
No. This is the point. The dinosaurs, it's just like he says in the movies. The dinosaurs had their chance. They were wiped out by whatever. They went extinct because of natural disaster, the asteroid that hit the planet or whatever. But most of the animals we're talking about were wiped out because of human beings, because of our encroachment in the natural environment. So maybe we should give them a second chance. I mean, biodiversity, we don't know what really is going to happen to the planet when we lose all of our biodiversity.
Nothing good.
No, I know humans will survive, and we're clever. We've always figured out ways to survive in every environment, even hostile environments, but it may not have the best consequences for life on our planet if we don't take some steps to preserve some of the nature out there. I know in the past 50 years, the amount of wildlife has decreased by 60% just in 50 years. So what's that going to look like in another 50 years?
Hard to say.
I mean,
not good.
I don't know.
Hey, have you heard of this guy, Forrest Galante? He does that show. He does that show Extinct or Alive.
No, I've never heard of it. I wish I was more of a TV person because you're always bringing some of this stuff up.
Well, I actually found him while I was doing research here because I've never seen a show of it. But he's some guy. He was on a show called Barefoot, Naked in the Middle of the Woods and Try to Survive show. I think that's what it was called. I don't know.
You serious?
Yeah.
Barefoot, naked in the middle of the woods?
Something like that, where they put a couple of people naked in the woods and you got to survive or something.
Well, now I've heard about a show called Naked and Afraid.
That's it.
Is that it?
That's the one.
Okay.
So he's on it.
I actually watched a couple of those episodes on like Netflix or something.
So he's on that. Apparently, evidently, obviously. Certainly, he was a biologist that would go out and do all this research. And then his girlfriend he came back from a particularly rough outing where he was researching some insect or something. I don't know. And she's like, you should be on that show. So he's like, okay, I'll try it out. And he's like, it was like a vacation. It was so easy.
Oh, yeah.
And then, they saw him. People saw him, and thought, man, this guy would be great on his own show. And they came up with this show, Extinct or Alive. And he goes around trying to find, like the thylacine, creatures that were thought to be extinct, but he actually finds them. And he found like a turtle that they thought was extinct and a caiman.
Now, is that the one that in the Galapagos? I think I heard something about that one.
Yep.
Yeah, I have heard about that.
And he also he did 2 expeditions to find the thylacine, and in one of them he talked to a park ranger in Australia, New Queensland, I believe, who was also a biologist who saw several of them out in the prairie there, or the grasslands, but wasn't able to get a picture of them before they ran off. So,
well, there's some game camera footage that I ran across here. Yeah, I mean, I think there's a chance. I mean, they said the ivory-billed woodpecker's no longer extinct just from a very, very blurry video. Have you seen that?
Yeah, I did.
That's been about 8 or 9 years ago, and I mean,
I went down the rabbit hole, right? And I started looking at this, and I came across...
That's what happened to me. That's what happened to me about 8 or 9 years ago, and I stayed on it for a long time.
Have you heard of the coelacanth?
Oh, yeah, of course, the coelacanth.
Yeah. So I hadn't heard of this. I mean, I don't read like you, Mr. Professor Man, Encyclopedia Boy. The coelacanth, folks, is a Indian fish, and someone found one in a fish market. Up to that point, everybody thought those things had been extinct for 60 million plus years.
Right.
And it shows up in a fish market in South Africa. So it just goes to show you.
It was in 1938. Somebody recognized what it was, and they had went out to where they had netted this thing and found another one, a full specimen. And they find them all the time now. I've seen on actual video, nature shows where they've seen them underwater in their natural habitat and everything now. But yeah, absolutely. They thought they look like a dinosaur fish. They look very primitive compared to modern fish. It's understandable that people thought these were extinct, but they do turn up in nets and things from time to time.
Yeah, so I found the Highland dog in Papua New Guinea, also called the singing dog, the pygmy tarsier.
Believed to be related to the dingo.
Yeah. The Kashmir musk deer.
Mm-hmm.
It's a vampire deer. Is that the same thing? The Kashmir musk deer and the vampire deer? I don't know.
I don't know
The tree lobster. The goblin shark. Have you seen the vampire deer? The one that's got the fangs coming out?
No, I have not.
It has fangs, razor sharp fangs. I don't understand, but it can suck your blood and turn you into a vampire deer.
Dude,
I'm not kidding, man. It's called a mule deer. Look it up.
I know what a mule deer is. They're out west here in the United States.
Well, look up vampire deer. I know I'm
gonna look up vampire deer.
It's a real animal. I'm not making this up. Vampire deer with the fangs.
All right. Oh, my God.
Right? It's a vampire deer.
It's got these big tusks coming right out. I have never in my life seen this thing. I've never even heard of this.
A musk deer is what it's called.
Water deer.
Or a water deer, yeah. Also called the vampire deer.
Yeah, that's right. I did hear they thought these were extinct for a while. But I never knew what they looked like. I didn't know what they looked like. Yeah.
Bambi's going to get some revenge, baby.
I was like, wow.
Bambi came back to life. Hunters beware.
That's crazy.
Right. Can you see?
I can see why they named it the vampire deer, for sure.
Yeah, without a doubt. Ugh. Anyway.
Musk deer, not mule deer, dude.
Yeah, I saw that deer. Musk deer, yeah. And then
Chinese water deer.
Even insects. There's this giant bee called Wallace's giant bee. And somebody found a living specimen, and sold it for $9,000.
Hell yeah.
Hell yeah.
Damn.
That's what I'm
Need
saying.
to go into giant bee hunting business.
That's right. we need to get ourselves some shotguns and go into the bee hunting business.
Yeah, man. Wow.
Yeah, so, I mean, there's a lot of animals out there that we thought were extinct that are rearing their cute or ugly heads or vampire heads from time to time.
Yeah, I mean, that's good. I mean, I'm glad. I mean, it always warms my heart. I don't know the right word for it, but I always like to hear whenever there's a species we think went extinct and then we find it again in the wild. There's been several, but, some butterfly species have gone extinct, talking about insects and things. And actually the monarch butterfly is in trouble right now. Here in North America, everyone knows what the monarch butterfly with its big orange and black wings looks like. And, but they're in a lot of trouble. They do not respond very well to climate change, and they breed in Mexico, of all places. They make this, for an insect, this epic journey, back to breed way into Mexico, and then it takes years to redisperse out into North America. It's all the way up into Canada. It's so unusual.
Huh. Mexico, what is it down in, is it the fajitas?
I don't know exactly where it is in Mexico.
Well, do they go down there for the fajitas?
Oh, I don't know. Maybe.
I'm not saying fajitas is a town in Mexico.
Yeah. I know it's in a cold area because I remember they hibernate. There's a species of bird because they're poisonous. Birds don't eat them. I mean, that's one thing that the warning is their wings, but there is a species of bird that can eat them that has evolved to be immune to the poison. I do know that. I mean, that's an aside. I did zero research on that. I don't know any more details about that. Of just things I've come across through the years.
Formosan clouded leopard found after 30 years believed extinct.
Yeah, I ran across that when we were doing this research. Sadly, though, for every one that you think has been rediscovered, there's probably a good 10 that's went extinct or more.
They have a special term for this called the Lazarus taxon. Creatures you believe that are extinct that come back. So what do you think? What's chances thylacine is really alive? If you had to put a percent chance on it, man.
As much as I would like for it to be, I just don't. I don't know.
1%.
I mean, there's been some game camera footage. I'm looking at one right now, and the guy that is one of those webcams that he put out, and he thinks it's very close to proving it, but to me, it doesn't look like the original pictures of the thylacine. The tail looks somewhat like it, but I think it's some other marsupial.
I saw that same camera footage, and I think it's Bigfoot. I think he caught Bigfoot, and he's just misidentifying it.
I mean, I wish it was thylacine.
I wish it was Bigfoot.
Well, yeah. Be cool if it was Bigfoot. Oh, what do they got? What do they call it down there? Yowie or something?
Man, Australians got the coolest names, and we just call it Bigfoot. Over there, they got a cool name.
Sasquatch?
Yeah, well, Sasquatch is an Indian thing, isn't it?
Yeah, it's derived from that.
Yeah. See, Yowie, that's a cool name.
It sounds like, you might have stubbed your toe, though. Yowie.
Yowie. Yowie, yowie, yowie. Who put that thing in the middle of the road? Yowie.
Well, anyway, that's all I had for that. I don't have a lot. There's been a lot of sightings, some interesting sightings. People claim to have watched them for, minutes on end and are sure they are there. I hope they do find them in Australia and Tasmania and anywhere else their natural habitat is. I hope they do turn up.
Well, I have something to tie this into a real cryptid. Have you ever heard...
Segway.
Segway. That's so stupid. So
it's a terrible segue.
It's a terrible, terrible, terrible segue. So have you heard of the Mapinguari?
No, I don't think so. If I have, I've forgotten it or
look it up now. Look up a picture of the Mapinguari.
I can't even spell that.
It's Mapinguari. Mapinguari. Look how terrifying that thing is.
Mapinguari, Peru. Valley in Peru. Is that it? Is that where it's from? Oh, crap.
Yeah, right? It's scary.
Like a big one-eyed creature there with a mouth in its belly or something.
In its chest, yeah. So it looks like, folks, it looks like a cyclops, but it's furry all over. Big clawed hands, and it's got a gaping, toothy mouth in its chest. And it's got saliva dripping from it, and big old tongue sticking out, and it's ready to eat you. That's a Mapinguari. And the indigenous folks down in South America that live in this particular area, Peru, say that this thing is still around, this Mapinguari, and they describe it as also having this really foul stench. Well, about 8,000 years ago, a creature went extinct in North America, the world really. I mean, it's not like it's anywhere else. And it was a ground sloth, this huge, large ground sloth. And if you look at pictures of it, renderings of it, based on what they know from the fossil records and some assumptions they've made from Lord knows what paleontologists do. Maybe they're hitting the mushrooms before they make their drawings. I don't know. But it looks a lot like the description of the Mapinguari. And they said that it probably had a foul stench. And if it's a marsupial and it's got some kind of pouch, maybe they mistook the pouch like an animal in the pouch, like the little baby with its mouth open. Oh, yeah.
Was this ground sloth a marsupial, though?
I don't know. Are sloths marsupials?
I know there's been sightings of ground sloths. I mean, giant ground sloths. It was a creature that existed, but many, many years ago compared to the Thylacine. Thylacine's been extinct less than 100 years.
Right.
But this thing's been extinct. It's part of as we talked about in the Ancient Civilization episode, part of the megafauna that disappeared, combination of climate change and most likely pressure from Homo sapiens whenever they migrated into North and South America.
Well, there's this place in Peru that this guy, Forrest Galante, who does that Extinct or Alive, believes it might inhabit. And it's this really huge tract of land, very few people. It's remote. It's very mountainous with a valley region in the center of this ring of mountains. And he thinks maybe in there. So who knows? He could go in there and find. Yeah. Wouldn't that be amazing?
That would be
amazing. Or maybe he goes in there and
that would be that'd be like finding a woolly mammoth or a short-faced bear or a woolly rhinoceros, after all this time. Because that is a large creature. That's not a turtle or, a golden frog or something that, could be in the wild and just kind of.
If it's a Mapinguari, he might not ever return. He might. Yeah. They'll snap a picture of his feet as he's being devoured. Because his little feet sticking out.
Yeah, that's neat, though. Yeah, that would be amazing. Yeah, that's about all we have. That's all I have. You have anything else on extinct species or the possibility that they may be coming back?
Well, I went into this thinking, nope, not coming back. And then I found out about this Mapinguari. Now, I'm putting cryptids back on the table as maybe there's something there. At the very least, maybe it's oral traditions handed down talking about real animals, and it's just been either misinterpreted or the game of telephone. It's been handed down and been exaggerated or mutated, or some of those creatures really did exist, and that was the way they described them.
Yeah, I mean, I could definitely see when you see the artist depictions of what natives are describing of that creature, and then realize, hey, that could be the ancient ground sloth. And then too, realize that we believe that because no Westerners have seen giant ground sloth in recorded history or for thousands of years, that, doesn't mean that it may have existed 3,000 years ago or 1,000 years ago or 2,000 years ago before Westerners ever got here. And some of those legends could still be handed down, among the indigenous people. I think it's possible, that some things could have went extinct much later than we proposed, just because we have nothing on the fossil record that gives us reason to believe they lived beyond, the end of the last ice age.
Yeah, for sure.
But yeah, it could have lived on. Like, for instance, did you know, mammoths, which are extinct, existed in North America, but I guess evolved in Europe, or Africa, and migrated to North America over the Bering Land Bridge, it's believed now. And the mammoths existed during the Ice Age for thousands and thousands of years. But there was a small mammoth that existed, and they were killed out around 10, 11,000 years ago. Now, did they die because of climate change? Did they die because of human
because they were tasty
migration, putting pressure on these species? In which, really, you can look at climate change, but climate change happened all over the place. And then where there's not people, you see the megafauna still going. So, I think it almost always correlates with, same as in Australia, when people showed up is when the megafauna starts to disappear. And I think it stands to reason that that's the reason most of these creatures, there could be other pressures, climate change pressures and things to kind of put that species on the brink, but probably mankind, hunted them into extinction. But there was a species of mammoth that lived on an island, and up to, believe it or not, 4,000 years ago, or 4 or 5,000 years ago, is around the time of the Egyptians. They were literally, you know how things get smaller when they are on islands, you know, like mammals and things. Well, you know, they kind of evolved to fit their environment. Well, it was literally these pygmy mammoths that lived on this island, and they were wiped out as soon as people arrived on that island.
I wonder if there was a sharp uptick in extinctions when man developed hamburger buns.
Well, let's look at it this way. I mean, here's really, and you can say, well, Africa still has all this megafauna, like elephants and rhinos and so on and so forth. And that's true. But man evolved in Africa. So those animals evolved along with man, and knew man's behaviors, knew how to avoid man, or how to defend themselves against man, or how to run away, ways to avoid them, right? But, you know, mankind, as it's migrating more than any other creature into these other environments, and then those creatures don't understand that mankind's a threat, you know, because they didn't evolve around.
You ever seen a woolly mammoth?
You know,
like, I mean, in a museum or anything? Yeah, so I was in the Natural History Museum one time.
Massive.
I was just stunned by how big that thing was.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, yeah, that would be pretty cool to eat.
Well, you know, I remember reading a story when I was a kid that, you know, they found some in Siberia and literally, you know, frozen in the permafrost. And of course, a lot of those are thawing out now.
Freezer burned.
All these mammoths and stuff. And they literally did have some of the meat. Some of the people that found some.
No, you don't know what kind of diseases might be in that meat.
I'm just telling you.
Did they ever watch the movie The Thing with Kurt Russell? No, you don't eat strange food and frozen in ice. That's just not safe. It's not sanitary.
Yeah,
what do they say it tastes like? Don't say it tastes like chicken.
I don't know. Yeah.
Well, you know, what are you going to do? I wonder what a thylacine tastes like.
Oh,
Dingo. What dingo tastes like? Chicken.
Tastes like a possum, probably.
Do you know what a possum tastes like?
I do not.
I've never had a possum, nor do I intend to have one.
I've seen many of them dead, though, in the middle of the road. They're not very good at navigating traffic.
They're very good at finding tires. Wonder what that is out there. Let me go run and see. Yeah. I got those big smiley teeth.
Yeah, got their big smiley faces.
It's a grimace. And groundhogs, too.
Right before you... I hit a raccoon one time in a little car. I swear it did like $1,200 for the damn.
Stupid raccoons.
And I'm doing like 75 and up 77 north. And this raccoon run out in the road ahead of me. And it's dark. It's real early in the morning. And I swerve to the left a little bit. And then it turns around and literally does that, right? It looks right in the headlight and it does its teeth. You know, it's like, and it decides to go back. And there was no way for me to be able to swerve back because it was all just so fast. Man, I hit that thing, and it was a big one too, man. It tore that whole front clip up on that thing, man. Tore the inner fender up. Like, dang. That's why I drive a truck now. Of course, I hit a freaking deer in my truck. You know, that didn't help.
That's why you don't want to get fat in the animal kingdom.
According to the Insurance Institute, if you live in West Virginia, you have a 2 in 49 chance of hitting a deer every year, every 12 months if you live in West Virginia. 2 in 49
I've never hit a deer, but I've been so close to a deer, I could see its breath on my window as it stopped.
Yeah. Well, you know, all my life I haven't hit them. I've had a lot of close calls, but that one was just totally unavoidable. It just came out of nowhere. It literally just shot over a guardrail, and I had enough time to take my foot off the gas but not hit the brake or anything. And it literally ran into my side. It just like committed suicide. I mean, I had nowhere to go. So before we go, I'd like to remind everyone to please rate and review. It helps other people find the show. If you'd like to reach out to the show with any kind of comments or suggestions, or if you have a story you would like to share, like us to share it on the air, we'd love to do that. You could find us at Cosmic Sponge at CosmicSponge.com. Our email address is firstcontact@CosmicSponge.com. That's what I'm trying to say. Check us out on Instagram and Facebook, and you'll find lots of fun things on both of those sites. By the time you hear this, we hope to have a merchandise shop up and some other ways to support the show. So when you hear this, go immediately. Just go right on your web browser, stop your car, grab your phone, go to cosmicsponge.com and see all the cool stuff that we have there. And also ways to support the show if you like what you hear. And anything else, Jimmy? Am I leaving anything out?
Nope. Support the show so I can buy more beer.
Right. So anyway, with all that out of the way, this is Stephen Hawk signing out. And I'll see you next week.
Jimmy Co. Ditto.
That's all for this week's episode of Cosmic Sponge. Please don't forget to rate and review us wherever you listen. It helps others find the show. If you have any questions or have a story you'd like to share, you can contact us using our email account, firstcontact@cosmicsponge.com. Thanks again for listening, and we'll see you next week.